Now we get to the cinema section, and this is what I'm going to call it. I think this is going to be the B movie section of cinema this week. And we start off with a film that just has a lovely, lovely B movie title. I love the simplicity of it. I love the fact that this film is simply called Plane. Plane.
Plane, yes, plane.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. So Sharon, you and Sharon saw this. Sharon, tell us, what is Plane about?
Well, Plane stars Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler.
I feel like Gerard Butler he's now like a promise of a good time at the cinema. As far as I'm concerned, I think it's a promise of a good time at the cinema. Yeah, carry on.
He is the pilot of said plane. So it starts off. It's set in New Year's Eve, but apart from references to it, that doesn't really mean a lot. It's just like it's New Year's Eve. So I don't know why they made a big point of the fact that it's New Year's Eve, but they do. Anyway, there's a plane leaving Singapore, I believe, heading across the Philippines. And there's all sorts of people on this plane who are heading back home, having sort of spent sort of Christmas away, and then they're just heading back for New Year. And so it's not a full plane because it's so there's only about sort of 20 people on board with like a minimal flight crew. And you see Joe Butler sets up the scene that he's flying home, and he is told by one of the airport staff that there is a major storm, but they predict that it shouldn't be a problem. You can just fly above the storm and everything will be fine. But and he says, well, why don't we just fly around the storm? And they said, no, because that will cost you, the airline a lot of money and time. It'll add an extra hour and a half to your journey, plus you'll burn another 28,000 litres of aviation fuel. No, fly. This is your flight path. You're going to fly through the storm. And so what happens? They fly through the storm, and all hell breaks loose. So they get hit by lightning. Engine fails. Drama, screaming. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen? And then they actually drop out of this storm, and they land on this remote island. And they find out, that's okay. We've landed. We're all fine now. No one's been killed horribly in the crash. Well, someone did, but that's another story. But we're okay. We're okay. We've made it.
That was. Can I just say that story Sharon's talking about is very, very incredibly convenient. That particular thing happens.
So I am going to get to the convenience of certain things. And so, and then they find out that this island that they've landed on is part of like the Philippines sort of archipelago. I mean, there's hundreds of islands in the Philippines.
Yeah.
But this one is basically run by warlords and bandits. That there's no government, the army won't go there, so there's no rescue coming. But on this flight, you meet there's an Englishman, there's a couple of foreign students, there's a Korean couple, there's Americans, there's a bit of everyone on this plane. But there also happens to be a fugitive from justice. He was a man who was in the French Foreign Legion. He was accused of murder, and he has been extradited by an air marshal back to Canada.
Yeah.
And he is a man who's obviously a man with skills. He is big. He's built. He's been the French Foreign Legion.
Mike Coulter.
Quite convenient again.
Yeah. So and then during the kerfuffle when they were going through the storm, the air marshal got killed, and so we then have this dangerous fugitive from justice who is been extradited, handcuffed prisoner without a guard, and so he then becomes an essential part of the story.
May I guess something out here? My guess that this fugitive from justice may not be all that it seems. He may not be as fugitive as you think he is,
and he may not be as bad as you think he is, because he's not been convicted. He was accused of a crime, and then he fled the country and he joined the French Foreign Legion. So he hasn't actually been convicted of anything. There's this allegation against him.
Yep.
So he's not actually a convicted bad guy. He could be just misunderstood.
Yeah.
And so we then have this situation where they're on this island, and then the bad guys, who are these bandits, these sort of warlords, who have a history of kidnapping foreign missionaries, holding them to ransom, then if they don't get the ransom paid, executing them. They had then decided that a plane load of foreign tourists,
ka-ching!
And so they think we need to get there. So then meanwhile the airline, the company is trying to locate where the plane is, and they worked out where the where the plane has come down, and so they can't get the military and they can't get their own people in, so they employ a group of mercenaries to go in and see if they can get them out. And then mayhem ensues. You've got the bad guy joining forces with the good guy versus the very bad guys versus the mercenaries, and then you've got mayhem, shooting, screaming, running around, doing stupid things. And then some of the stupid things are that they make choices that you think that's very convenient for the plot. I don't know if that would be very convenient if I was in that situation. Would I make those choices? But it's very convenient to make the plot work. To do what I want to the script.
Okay.
So instead of like going in a linear fashion, it's kind of like, if we make this really random choice here, we can get to this place and then we can do this thing. So it's almost like the plot is driving the story rather than human behavior. But I know Sean has got some things to say about that.
Huge things, yeah.
Okay, go for it. Go.
Okay. Oh, mate, what I could do with this? I could murder this film in about 3 minutes. But yeah, so I mean, okay, the idea is good, but it's like there's no what's the word? Not continuity. It's like they do things and then they think, how can you do that when you've just done this thing? You know what I mean? It's like,
Yep.
How can this is going to be a thing. How can you go through a storm, lose every piece of electric,
it's struck by lightning, so it zaps your plane.
So you've got to glide, and then later on you can put two wires together and wow, look, we got power. Oh look, we ditched all that fuel. Yeah, no. And the bit it went. I thought, okay, I'll try and be forgiven. I won't be too bad. But then there's a bit where he's trying to communicate. There's this abandoned building, and there's a guy I don't know, that's sort of trying to sneak up behind him and hits him on the back with a rucksack. And you know what I mean? If you're going to do something, you're not going to hit him on the back with a rucksack and then end up fighting them and getting.
Oh, you just go for the head. Go for the head and like.
you. I mean, it was. And after that, I was like, oh, what? You've got to be kidding me, man. But of course, it's just an action film, and I mean, I suppose I should be more forgiving. And
ineptness on the part of the bad guys is sort of, they're totally assumed that they're all horribly inept.
It's like it's like that silly movie, The Olympus Has Fallen, when you got they make the SWAT teams and all that sort of stuff, and they're all there and they're all around and they're trained as well. You know what I mean? But no, they do.
Well, you see, now this is the thing I was talking about. Because it has Gerald Butler in it, I'm thinking this is going to be Olympus Has Fallen on a plane. Plane has fallen, if you will.
Yeah.
If you so
the worst one, I've got to say this one. The worst one was that when the hostages are on the bus and I'm going to have to do this thing, otherwise what I'm saying is. Oh, that really, that riled me up big time. That was
okay.
I could tell.
Stupid man.
Okay,
let me do that. No one would do that.
Anyway, all right. Okay. Cool. Let me. Okay, because obviously action movie, and the same way you sound like me when I'm complaining about horror movies, and I say I complain why would you do that? Obviously, the only reason you do that is because you're in a horror movie, and if you don't do that, it doesn't.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, I know.
It'll be over within 5 minutes.
Exactly.
Don't open the door.
Exactly. Yeah.
This film's over.
Yeah. Sensible people do not make for good horror movies or action movies. But what I was trying to do is I would take this and I would like to compare it to a film that's absolutely ludicrous but a lot of fun, Con Air, which has a sort of similar premise in my head anyway. So if you were to compare Plane to Con Air, how do they compare?
Okay, well, I think to me, Con Air didn't really take itself too seriously, whereas this tried to take itself too seriously, and I think it did. I put it in the I think it tried to be anyway. That's what I think. I mean, Con Air was okay. I think it's an overrated movie myself. I think it's quite overrated. It's one of my overrated movies. But yeah, but
okay.
All right. Okay, I suppose this is what you should expect from Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
I class this in the Fast and Furious franchise.
All right, cool. So Sharon, we'll go with you first. What did you think? How many stars?
Well, I thought it was ludicrous but fun. I mean, I did think it was fun. I think there was a few moments where, I'm going to this is my emotional bit. This is my emotional scene. So, you know, watch me cry, people. And so I thought it was a ludicrous bit of fun. So I enjoyed it. For all its faults, and it was riddled with them. I thought it was just a bit of fun and a bit of nonsense. So I would give it a 3. It was like, there's no harm in it other than the fact that, you know, you just got to turn your brain off when you're watching it.
Well, that's it. That's like a lot of them.
There should be a rating on posters that just has like a brain with an X on it.
Yeah.
to be fair to it, it was an action movie, as I say, and for all its stupid faults and everything like that. I did the last scene reminded me like something out of the Wild Geese. You know what I mean? When yeah, like, you know, the Wild Geese. You know the scene I'm talking about?
Geese, yeah.
With like,
the airport.
Yeah, with like, yeah.
Oh, yes, I know.
So
I know
Wild
what you're
Geese,
talking
the
about.
end scene, it is, you know, like.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, absolutely hokum, absolutely ridiculous. But I think for the action bit with the shooting, when he's got the big, I don't know what they call them, big 50 caliber rifle shooting the blokes and sending them flying 500 yards was quite fun. So, you know, with those bits. So, yeah. But Daft, so I'll probably give it a 3-star, I think, because it wasn't. I mean, I can't. It's standard Gerard Butler fare.
I could almost see them making not sequels as such, but making them like sister films, because I think the mercenaries have sort of a bit of mileage in them, and I also think the bad guy, maybe might be misunderstood. I think there might be mileage in other films there, so I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Plane flying again.
In a different form. In a different form. Definitely franchise material.
I was listening.
It's amazing what you can do. It's amazing what you can do by putting 2 wires together.
I was listening to the Empire Movie Podcast, and they said that they're going to be really disappointed if there's not 2 sequels to this film called Train and Automobile. Which I thought, I was like, oh, I quite like that. Yeah. But anyway, okay, cool. So now let's go